Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the people I've been reading up on is Kobe Bryant. Not so on the
okay.
basketball side because of his drive and his dedication and just the things that he did to become a better player.
Right.
Like getting up at, like 3:30 in the morning and making 800 shots until practice. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, that's
but
crazy.
It shows his dedication to being, one of the greatest of all time.
Right.
So, I'm trying to adopt that Mamba mentality for next year. More so with my podcast, for my education, and just making different connections with people to help get me to where I want to go in life. So, if it's in God's will, then I hope it happens for me.
And that's amazing. Like, it is so good to just have that type of inspirational person in front of you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know a lot. I don't watch a whole lot of sports. So, of course, I know who Kobe Bryant is. But I don't, know what, his stats are or anything like that. But what I have heard about is the drive that he had. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that is what set him apart from a whole lot of people. Like, even more so, it's like back in my day.
In the
heyday, like Michael Jordan and the drive that he had. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just having that drive and having that willingness to move forward, and knowing that it's not necessarily, if you don't make it, not necessarily seeing it as a failure, but more as a learning experience, and then taking that learning experience and then getting up and doing it over and over and over again until you get to where you need to go.
Yeah.
I think that is key. So if you can have those inspirational people in front of you, mm-hmm. then definitely to say, I want to be like that. I want to have that type of drive, or I want to do this. And don't let people will look at you and say, oh, well, why do you want to follow him? Or why do you want to do that? Or whatever. I think a lot of times that comes from their own self-insecurities.
Uh-huh.
And you can't let that stop you.
Yeah.
Don't ever listen to somebody who is not even where you're trying to be.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go get marriage advice from someone who is either in a marriage that they hate or has been, well, maybe if they've been divorced, they have a little bit of insight. I don't know. They can tell me what not to do. I don't know. But, somebody who has never been married. I would never give marriage advice because I've never been married. Don't come to me for that. You know what I mean? So, find those people who will continue to, not yes men, but can be real with you and say, no, you know what, you were wrong about that. Mm-hmm. But no, you're doing great in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
That can kind of help guide you. And you only need 2 or 3 people. You don't need a whole slew of people. Find your inner circle, and those are they say the roots to your tree. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That will keep your tree stable and strong. Because people will start to put their own insecurities on you. Mm-hmm. And then if you really continue to hear that and hear that and hear that and hear that, you internalize that. And then that hinders you.
Uh-huh.
And then you don't want to do it anymore. And all of a sudden your dream is lost.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So you have to be very careful about who you put in your circle, but also keep those people in front of you, and don't let people make you feel bad about what you're trying to do in life.
Yeah, exactly. Quick shout out to my aunt. We were having a conversation a while back, and she was like, Sed, you're not a garbage can. You don't take on people's garbage.
Yeah,
right? Don't listen to their garbage. You just do your thing. So I was like, yep, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that when we're trying to help, right, especially if you're a helper, you start to try to help people, and you start to internalize their dramas and their issues.
Yeah.
And you really can't do that. Like, yes, you can help. You can pray for them. And if you can provide that help, you can provide that help. But don't take that into your own world, because then that becomes your own baggage. So she's absolutely right, and people have to want to make change for themselves. Mm-hmm. You cannot change anybody. People will make time for what they want to make time for. Mm-hmm. They will read what they want to read. They will, call and text who they want to text, or whatever the case is. And if they don't make time to do those things in their own life, you can't force that upon them.
Yeah.
So, what you can do, however, is take care of yourself and what you need to do. You can be there for them, but be very careful about what you internalize.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Staying with perseverance, continuing with that conversation, I lost my father about 3 months ago, and I would say in some sense I have some type of perseverance. I've been being, strong in the past 3 months. I know you lost your mother about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of her passing, how did that affect you?
It was chaos. It was chaos. I think for me it was chaos because we never had... the only conversations we had is I knew that my mom, if she got sick, she ended up in a hospital. She didn't want to be a vegetable. She was a nurse, so she made it very clear that if she could not have the quality of life that she had, then do what you need to do, pull the plug or whatever the case is. And that's basically what I'm glad we had that conversation, because that's what came down to. Like when my family came, they were like, what are you going to do? I was like, I already know what I'm going to do, because they were like, the only thing that they could do was they could do a surgery, but she would be a vegetable. And I was like, nope, that's not what she wanted. We got to pull the plug. Not to say that was, I say it like that now because I was so sure, because we had that conversation. It was hard. I remember, my brother and I cried for a bit. We hugged, and we were like, okay, this is what we got to do. And we were in the room, and of course, I had some very close family members and friends in the room, and you just have to do that. So that really kind of changes your life. I think I was in my 20s too, so I didn't have an opportunity to, I'm not going to have a child and my mother be there. I'm not going to get married and my mother be there. And then we had that conversation, but we didn't have any conversations about finances or the bank accounts, what bills need to be paid, what this and the other. So after that happened, I was completely lost. I was lost as lost could be. And I had some very key people step into my life that kind of helped me guide the way. One was a former supervisor of mine. This is one of the same people who took me. I love her to death till this day. Phenomenal mentor. She really helped me with just different aspects. And then one of the ladies from church stepped in and helped me with kind of the documentation process and being there and everything like that. So they were able to, because I was open to listening, help guide me through a lot of that, the insurances and different things like that. My mother you talking about drive. She was probably one of the people I knew that had the most drive ever. Like, people say that I kind of remind them of her in the sense that I'm always going, I'm always working, I'm always doing stuff. And so that drive was there. But she made probably 3 times what I was making at the time.
Wow.
And she had 2 houses, the one that we're in now, and another. And like a BMW, a Mercedes, and all this stuff. And I'm making I was just starting my career. I'm making $30,000. I'm barely breaking it. I'm barely breaking it.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, humble beginnings.
Paying the dues.
She was I later learned she was in 6 figures. I'm oh my God. So it was devastating because we had a plan, right? My plan was to go to school after I got my bachelor's, which at that time I had my bachelor's. I wanted to open up, we wanted to do, because her thing was she was really into crafts and consignments, and she did pottery and all of this stuff. And I was really into secondhand goods and refurbishing goods and things like that. So we were we're going to open a store, and I'm going to go to school and get my master's. And then when she retires, she was going to work the store. That was our plan. And that was my plan. That's what I was doing. And everything, the whole world kind of just gets pulled from underneath you. Because all of your plans now change. You don't know where you're going. You don't have the person that you were talking to about certain things, the person that you were getting advice from. You just don't have any of that. It's just yanked out of your life. And so it was very hard. But I think that those key people, and then being able to say, this is what I want to do. So I knew that if I didn't make a move, we were going to lose everything. There was not a doubt in my mind, because I wasn't even making that much money. We actually ended up losing the other house because the people in that house weren't paying their rent, and I could not afford to cover the mortgage like my mom was doing. So we ended up losing that house. But my goal was to keep the house that we were living in. So while I was working, I was still working at a nonprofit. And that's why I say God, because I honestly, back then, I don't know how we got this far. I was getting foreclosure notices. I was getting all kinds of stuff. It was crazy. I used to go in the closet and cry just because I had no idea what was going on. And I went back to school. I got my master's degree. And the moment I got my master's degree, I got a promotion. It was within weeks. I got a promotion. And so that was more money. Then from there, I started doing side work on different things. So I had extra income coming in. Like I was doing like graphic arts and making logos and different things on the side. Then from there, it was just like opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I started to look for other jobs. I was supposed to move down into Georgia. That didn't work out because the salaries in Georgia are lower. And so I couldn't take a lower salary and move because I still had this house and I wasn't selling the house.
Right.
My goal was by any means necessary, we gonna find a way to keep this house by any means necessary.
Yeah.
And so like there were times where I had friends come and they had to fill my refrigerator because I didn't have any food. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a struggle. And then after, because I still wasn't making as much money. Then later it was like a job kind of fell into my lap. Salary went up, and then again where I am now, that job kind of fell into my lap. That's why I was like, it's I feel like it was God who just kind of like ordered the steps, because as long as I was doing what I was supposed to do, things were getting covered. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I was just had to make ends meet, and a lot of times I don't know how it happened. I'm in a good place now where I can kind of afford a lot of, I can pretty much, I live a life and do everything on my own financially. And then my brother, he just recently went into the military, so he's doing well as well. But yeah, it was a struggle. And I think that if it wasn't for those key people who were behind me, like, you can do it, you know, how can I help, you know, I'll put food in your refrigerator this week, or whatever the case is. Or like, you know, you need to look into this, or you need to look into this, you need to look into this. I think that that's what really sustained me. The drive to make it happen, even though people think you're going to fail, because there are people behind my back that were like, yeah, she's going to lose the house. She's going to lose the house. She can't afford it. She can't do that. You know what I'm saying? We ended up giving one of my mom's cars to my dad, which was the BMW. He still has that car. And then the other one, I ended up donating and getting a tax write-off for it. So it was like, it was just, at first, it was chaos. It was heartbreaking. I was in tears. I didn't know what to do. But I just thank God. And those key people that just help you keep it moving. Yeah. And my best friends. I mean, I don't know what I would do without them. And those are those roots that I'm talking about, those key people that no matter what, you know that they're going to be there for you. And you can call on them. I've
learned in the 3 months since he's passed that, you know, if I continue to, you know, be diligent and continue to work hard, that God is going to promote me some way, somehow. Because it's still new. It's still
and it's
fresh.
Hard.
And it's difficult. I'm still grieving. You know?
Of course.
I have days where it doesn't really cross my mind. And then I have days where the emotion just becomes too much. And it's just overwhelming. And I just feel like, you know, blocking everybody else and just going back to my island like I usually did. Because, you know, like you said, there's a lot of loose ends. There's a lot of things that I wanted to do with him that I can't really get to do now. Like graduation. I was supposed to graduate in May from CSM, and the pandemic ruined that. I would have known without a shadow of a doubt he would have been in the crowd so proud, giving me, you know, that one hug that I never really, you know, got as an adult. But he would have gave that to me. So there's so many loose ends, and it's definitely heartbreaking. But, you know, finding the strength and the courage to just get up every day and go on that jog when I don't feel like it, or go to work, or, you know, go to school and do my schoolwork. Right? It feels like I'm doing God's honor, I'm making God proud, and I'm making, you know, my dad proud. So it's just finding that perseverance. That's what keeps me going.
You have to. You cannot just sit there and sulk. I think that was, for me, was just like, you have to keep moving. It's gonna be hard. You just have to keep moving. You have to keep going forward, like, no matter what. And you have to think that person wouldn't want you to just sit there and sulk and mourn. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to go back when you feel overwhelmed into that corner. There are times now, I remember I had a conversation a couple of days ago, and I was in tears talking about my mom. I'm honestly surprised that I'm not in tears now, because lately I've been kind of like, when I talk about her, I'll be in tears or whatever. But I don't want to say it gets easier, because I don't ever, people like, oh, it gets easier with time. I don't think it gets easier.
No.
I think that you find a way to deal with it, and you know that person is looking down on you, And it's more of a acceptance thing, because it will never be the same. Like, there are people who try to step in and is like, tries to take that motherly role, or I'm sure for you that fatherly role, but it will never, I can't lie to you and say, oh yeah, it's going to be, good, and they're going to take the place, blah, blah, blah. It will never be the same. Yeah. But the good thing is that there are people on your side that will help you succeed. And like, I have people now where if I have life's questions that I would go to my mother and ask, I can go to them and say, what do you think about this? And really take into consideration what they're saying, and then base my decisions on that. And that, my faith will get me through as well. But there are times where, a birthday may come, or I may go down to the cemetery or whatever like that, and you're just like, I wish you were here. Like, there's nothing that can take away that. But all I can say is that you have to keep persevering, you have to keep striving, and knowing that that person would want you to succeed. Mm-hmm. And you're still working. Like, I used to do everything, because a year after literally almost to the day, a year after my mom passed, my grandmother passed, who was another inspirational person in my life. So I done had 2 back-to-back people within a year pass away. And it was just like, at that point, these were the people that I was working to make proud. Like, this is the reason why I was getting straight A's and going to school and, being a goody two-shoes, perfect attendance and everything else, you know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't for nobody else. So when that happened, it's like, well, what's the point? Mm-hmm. But to know that they would want you to succeed, and they are still looking down. As a Christian, you have to believe that there is a life after this, and that they are looking down and watching, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that we'll be with them again one day. So you still want to work to make them proud, and achieve those goals that you're set out to achieve. And it's going to be hard, and you're going to have those days. Like, there are those days that you're going to want to get, it still gets overwhelming. I still get mail, and I'm just like, the stove didn't work, and out for like, I don't know, the stove broke, and I was like, oh my God, the world is ending, the stove is not working, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's even like the littlest things will set you off, and I'll just be like, I wish you were here, because I wouldn't have to deal with this. But you have to know that it's going to be okay, and you just need to take a moment, take a break, take a breath, and then persevere, and keep going and find out, how to get there. Yeah,
I think talking about, the situation and my emotions, that's what helps me get better, and that's what helps me heal, because I wasn't really known for doing that before. I'd be very passive about it. Like, people would ask, hey Sid, how you doing? I'm fine. Yeah. And I don't look fine. I wear my heart on my sleeve, so and I don't look fine, physically, but I wouldn't talk to people about it. And it's like, now finally I'm at that point now where I feel comfortable talking to people about how I feel. If I'm having a bad day, I'm just like, hey, I'm having a bad day. And if I feel like diving into it, I'll dive into it. Of course, with the right person. I'm not going to talk to
that's what I was going to say.
Talk to everybody.
Absolutely. Make sure it's the right people. And make sure, again, it's those people that are going to continue to push you in the right direction, to let you know, it's okay. I'm definitely a shoulder that you can cry on, but we got to keep going. We got to keep going, and this is what we're going to do, and we're going to help each other, because there may be a time where you might then have to turn around and be that person for someone else, because you really have a testimony on your hands, whereas your father passed away. You are a young man who has had his father pass away in his life. You're going to be an inspiration to then someone else who may be going through that, or have not even that same thing, but maybe has suffered large loss and personal loss. And as being successful can say, look, if I got through it, you can definitely get through it. Because there is no difference between me and you. If I got through it and I got to where I am, you know what I'm saying, and I'm meeting my goals and everything, and I didn't have my mom in my life, you know what I'm saying, and it was like literally the rug is ripped from under you and went through all of this stuff, then I know you can do it, because you're younger. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you got a right head on your shoulders. You got everything that's going for you. Of course, you're going to have those moments of being down and out, but don't let that stop you. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to continue to be in that inspiration, and know that your number one provider, your number one God, he's going to be there to help you through all of that as well. Mm-hmm.
I jokingly tell my friends and my cousins that I'm the head of the table. Like, I'm the head of the table.
There you go.
But it's the truth.
Yeah,
I am the head of the table.
You are.
It's like, once that happened, I just picked up where he left off. And
you
I just
have to
took care of the family and everything.
Absolutely.
So that's my nickname.
Absolutely. All right, Mr. Head. No, but you're absolutely absolutely right. Somebody has to step up and fill that role.
Yeah.
Okay. And for your family, that has fallen on you. It can be overwhelming at times. That's a lot, especially as a young man, to take all of that on and help your family. That's a lot. But to know that you can do it, and then to move forward in doing that. I had to do the same thing in my situation when my mom passed. You know what I'm saying? My brother, he was just as lost as I was, and he was younger. So now I have to figure it out, not only for myself, I have to figure it out for him too, because if I don't figure it out, I can figure my life out. He's going to be out on the street. You know what I'm saying? So now you have people's lives in your hand. You have to figure it out. If I had sat there and I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I just let the bills run up and I didn't take the initiative, then who knows where we would be today, or he would be today. And so you have to find your reason and then work towards that reason of making things happen. And then your reasons change, right? Like now my brother is to the point where he is completely self-sufficient. He's in the military. He don't need me. He's out there. He's in Texas right now living it up. So my reason has to change. Okay, he has his own lifestyle. Now I can focus on me and my life and what I do. And the same thing will happen for you. Now you have your family, you have your brother, you have your mother, and so forth, that you have to, tend to and take care of. And eventually, that reason will change. But that's why you have to have your goals in front of you, you know what I'm saying, to move forward. Now, with that, I will say, don't forget about yourself.
Yeah.
While you're taking care of others, make sure that you're giving yourself what you need to succeed too, because you don't want to lose yourself in that, or look down the road and say, oh my God, I've been so focused on everybody else's life. I haven't been able to do anything I want to do or accomplish anything that I want to accomplish. So make sure it's hard, but we were talking about balance before. You have to find that balance.
Yeah.
You definitely have to find that balance.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I've been, trying to work on myself, because I have days or I have weeks where it's almost like, I'm focused on everybody else and everybody else is on my mind. But it's like, what about me, right? I'm so focused on putting different podcast episodes focused on my schoolwork and all that. All that is important. But at the end of the day, I got to make sure that set is all right. Because if set isn't all right, then the whole dynamic changes.
How do you take care of everyone else?
Exactly.
If you can't take care, if you're exhausted and tired and you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you getting the energy to fill the cup of others when your cup isn't full yourself? You're giving them remnants. That's not helping anybody. So you do have to take that moment to say, okay, I need rest here, or I need a moment, or I just need to do this. And that goes back to that movement. I know I got to a point, one year, I think I was working so hard, I didn't take any vacations or anything. The year went by, and the only thing, we were coming up on a new year. It was in December. This was several years ago. And I remember coming up on December, and I was like, I cannot think of one thing that I did for myself. The entire year, I could not think of one thing I did for myself. I was working, I was in different organizations, I was doing stuff for other people and watching them succeed now, because I'm helping them succeed with their goals.
Exactly.
But I literally could not think of one thing that I did for myself, and I said to myself, this will never happen again.
Right.
Because it was just movement. I was just busy. There was nothing in that year that I felt as though I accomplished to help me or my family, progress. It was all about business and what everybody else was doing. And so I think that at that moment, that's when I realized, okay, I need to take a step back, and I need to say, okay, what do I need to do to help benefit me so that I can benefit others? And I'm not drained, because at the end of that year, I was completely drained. I was exhausted. It was just like, I can't let this happen again. So I say that to say, don't forget about yourself. You have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And so shifting gears from that,
Sure.
You graduated from college, got your master's and whatnot. Then you started up your own business a few years later. How rewarding was it to be able to accomplish those feats of accomplishments despite your situation and what you were going through?
That's funny, because it's rewarding, Goodness gracious. I took a survey back. I think it was a Briggs-Myers survey, and it said, one of my characteristics was achiever. And the two that I wrote it down, but the two that I specifically remember was achiever and input. And so the achiever is, if I am not achieving something, then I don't feel as though I am getting things accomplished. Like, I have to be able to accomplish one thing a day in order for me to feel as though I've done something, or I will feel completely depressed. Even if that's like, I'm going to vacuum the house today. You know what I mean? Or like, whatever it is, I have to achieve one thing a day in order for me to be happy. And that was from a survey that is like, a nationally wide known survey. And it kind of gets to the core of what makes up your personality and who you are. The other thing was input, which means that I have to constantly get information. So I need information feeding into me. So whether it's, getting on Google or, a book, reading. Now I listen to Red Table Talk because I love the topics that they talk about, that Jada and everybody's talking about. Because they talk about, social interest and in personal growth and all this other stuff. But somehow or another, regardless as to what platform or format is coming in, I have to have information. And it's so funny because now, to the point where there are people who will just send me things and I'll just watch it. It could be like the governor talking, or things on politics, or what laws have been passed. Like, I just need that information again, or I will feel like completely depressed. So those were two things that I've learned. So with that achiever thing, I think for me, I always need to achieve something. So when I got my master's, it was good. I'll be honest with you. I didn't walk when I got my master's, specifically because I didn't feel like I had anybody to walk for, although it was my own achievement. My mom wasn't around, so I was like, I don't want to walk, because that would have been the only person I walk for, so there was no point in me walking. But with that now, like, I'm still trying to get, like, I really want to get my project management professional certification. Is probably going to be my next goal. And then just continue to climb that ladder, even with the business, continue to grow the business. And so it's exciting in the sense of, you can look back and you can say, wow, this year I did this, this, and this to reach my goals. But I think too, you have to come to a place where you can achieve, but you have to also be satisfied in who you are and what you're trying to get to. Because if I don't achieve, then I need to know that it's not okay. I mean, it is okay that, I'm not a failure, and that everything associated with that. So have that drive, but just know that if you don't achieve it, it's okay. You still can get up and continue to achieve and everything like that. So it's exciting. But I think that because it's in my core, it's just something that I'm just going to continue to do. I'm always going to look for that. Okay, what can I do now? What can I build on now? What can I do here? What is on the checklist that I can achieve today? And I am that person where if I have a checklist and I start out my morning and I'm like, okay, usually I end the night with making my checklist for the next day, or I'll start the morning with making my checklist. And I might have 3 or 4 things on there. Then I know that, okay, I know by the end of the day, I want to at least achieve this and this. Then I'm okay. So I think that you have to know who you are, because for other people, maybe achievements aren't their best, what they're looking for. It might be, learner. They might be a learner where, they want to learn something new in the day, or whatever the case is. So I would say, if you can look into those like surveys, like the Briggs-Myers surveys and those personality surveys, Gallup is another one that's really well known for making surveys and things like that are highly recognized. Find out what it is internally that makes you tick, and then that will help you to feel as though you are accomplished, if that makes sense. Because your achievements and your accomplishments may be different than what I am achieving and trying to accomplish. For somebody else, it might be making sure that their kids get through school okay, or making sure that their husband is happy, or just making sure that their household is being run, as opposed to, getting this degree and getting this achievement. So I think as long as you find out what makes you happy, what your drive and what your goal is, then working towards those achievements in general will make you happy and feel successful.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself a perfectionist in ways when it comes to your life, or no?
I used to.
Okay.
I used to, and then I spoke to a business owner, and she said, Sheba, this is a prime example. I was doing my business, and I didn't want to put it out there until it was absolutely perfect. And she was like, well, Sheba, when is it going to be absolutely perfect? And I said, I don't know. I have to get absolutely perfect to know that it's absolutely perfect. And she was like, well, you should just put it out there because we as people and our businesses are ever evolving. Mm-hmm. So how do you know if it's going to succeed or flop if you don't even put it out there?
Right.
You know what I mean? And at that moment, I was like, okay, that's a good point. So now I don't necessarily see myself as a perfectionist. Now I'm just like, just do it. Right. See what happens. Uh-huh. Okay? If it doesn't work, fix it up a little bit, put it out there again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we don't know necessarily. I mean, I'm in marketing, so of course I can look at statistics and metrics and tracking and see. But even with that, we track, but we still do like A/B testing. Mm-hmm. You know, would this work over this, or would this work over that? So you have to test things out. So it's okay to be making sure that what you're putting out is high quality. But I don't think that we'll ever reach the status of being a complete perfectionist, because what might be perfect to you might not be what's perfect to me. Right. You know, what might be perfect to me may not be what's perfect to my boss. So how can you truly be a perfectionist on getting stuff out? So I say, if you got something, throw it out there, see if it works, massage it a little bit, and then just keep evolving. Yeah,
I would say with me, I'm a perfectionist, but I'm working on finding that balance.
Yeah.
For example, I work at a daycare, and I was helping with one of my kids. He was recording something and submitting it to his teacher, and he kept stammering over his words, and he was all like, Mr. Cedric, this is not right. I am going to redo this. We redid it like 2 to 3, maybe 4 times until he got it right. And, that's a great mindset to have.
Absolutely.
He wants best for himself as a 7-year-old. Right. But at the same time, it's almost like I'm looking in the mirror, because I could see him getting, freaked out because he kept messing up and he kept failing. It was like, oh my gosh, maybe I need to chill out a little bit when I'm doing different
You're like,
things.
do it again.
Yeah, because there'd be times where I would do a podcast and I would mess up and I'd be like, hold up, pause, we're going to redo this.
Yeah.
And we would restart a 25-minute conversation. And of course, people, they're patient with me. They're working with me and whatnot. But it's like you said, daring to put whatever you're doing out there and be okay to fail and mess up, because it's a learning experience and you have to learn from your mistakes and what you did wrong.
Right. So I agree with that in the sense of definitely work to put out your best work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If it takes like, 6 or 7 times or whatever like that, like I'm the type of person where sometimes people will turn stuff in and I'm just like, or I'll get stuff because I proofread a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh my God, did you even read this before you did this to me? Like, like, oh my God, what are you doing to me? So, my thing is definitely put out your best work.
Right.
What I'm saying is don't let trying to be a perfectionist stop you from reaching your goals.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you will work so hard to be a perfectionist and it may never get there, and now years have passed and you've not even put out something. Whereas though if you had got it to a certain point and put it out there, now you can build on it and continue to build on it. Right. So I do agree, and yes, work yourself the hardest. If you know that you can do better, definitely you do it over and over and over again until you do better. Mm-hmm. Just don't let it hinder you because you don't think that it's good enough. Right. Because it actually may be good enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's why like in English class, we always have rough drafts. Yes. Sometimes we'll have like 2 rough drafts, sometimes 3 rough drafts, because we're putting out different drafts, and it may not be perfect and it may not be great, but hopefully by the final copy, you've learned something in those 2 or 3 drafts. When the final copy, you'll get a good grade on it. Right. Maybe like an A or a B.
Right, but how many people are looking at your drafts?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So you're still not doing it by yourself. And you make such a good point, because we do peer reviews. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we may put together a document. 1 person, 2 people may put together a document, and then that document goes to a group of people for them to review, and they'll come back with everything that they can think of underneath the sun that needs to be changed. And then you make those changes, you put it out for a second peer review, and if it passes that peer review, then it goes to the client. Mm-hmm. So of course you have that going. So I think that what may be a good idea is to maybe not put it out there for the world to see, but find that small group, like those people who are reading your rough drafts. It's kind of like a book, right? So you're writing this book or this novel or whatever it is, You have people read it, give you their opinions, make some changes based off of what you feel is correct and incorrect, and then keep working on it until it is prepared or ready to go out to the public.
Right.
So I agree with you in that sense of, yes, work for to be a perfectionist and getting it out there, but I think that there are steps, maybe not just throwing it out there, but there are steps. Just like the young child who had the assignment, he came to you, you were that peer review for him. Because you're like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do it till we got it right. And finally he got it right, and then you could submit it. So if you could find that kind of center base where you have people that can help you like look at things or review things, because again, we are not an island. You know what I mean? So, you know, people that you trust, whether it's a mentor or a friend, every paper that I had when I was in getting my master's degree, I had your uncle reading every single one. It was so funny because we had when I got my degree, they were like, yep, you can just go ahead and write Sean Hawkins on that degree with you because he read the papers. Same thing for my best friend. Like, she had people, you know, helping her with her degree. I have a young lady in church. She comes in, when she came in every single Wednesday night, I was reading her papers and helping her. That's why I say we're not an island. So, you know, there are people that you're going to need in your life that will help you along the way. And I know some people feel as though they don't have anyone, but then too, you have to look at yourself and say, are you allowing people in too? Are you completely closed off to the idea, or are you allowing people in? Because you can put it through that peer review process, and then when you feel like it is perfect, then go ahead and submit it.
Right. When you started your business up a few years back, now that we're able to reflect on it now, as we're sitting here talking, being present, what are some of the lessons that you've learned since then?
Ooh, some of the lessons that I learned. Trying to think of stuff that I haven't really already said, because I think that, you know, it goes back to asking all of those questions, doing the research. Be aware of what will benefit you as far as business structure. You know, whether you want to set up as a LLC or S Corp or whatever the case is. One thing that I will say is find people, if you can afford it, to help you. Get an accountant. I'm a marketer. I'm not an accountant. You know what I mean? I'm not an accountant. So as the money comes in, we had to hire an accountant to take care of that for us, because the accountant knows the laws. They know the IRS. They know all of that stuff. If I did that myself, I'd probably be in jail. I see why people get in trouble for tax evasion. Like, you know what I mean? Because if you try to do it all yourself, that's not your forte. So get people who are experts in their areas to help with those particular areas. For instance, if you own a retail store and you're let's do consignment shop. You own a consignment shop. Your business is consignment. Okay. Now you can work to try to, you know, learn to do the marketing and everything like that. But when you get to a certain point, bring in a marketer, somebody who knows what they are doing, so that you can move on to that next step. Bring in an accountant so that your money isn't getting messed up. Don't always depend on family and friends. Get professionals in their fields to help sustain you and get you through those different things. So I think that that's probably one of the best pieces of advice. Because you can't, for instance, we have a marketing company. You know, we get help with our social media. I just don't have the time to do it.
Right.
I'm doing everyone else's social media, so I don't have time to do our own social media. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are only so many hours in a day. So we literally hired a virtual assistant who helps us we give her the topics. We do a lot of the content creation, but as far as like outlines and different things like that, she outlines the social media calendar. She outlines the newsletter. We get the content and everything like that going, and then we push it out. So even there, yes, it is our field, but in order to be successful, we had to reach out, because I'm focused on running the business.
Right.
I'm focused on my clients. So everything business oriented, I have to get the right people in place to make sure that that business is going to succeed.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so, we're coming into the new year. We're recording this on New Year's Eve.
Yeah. It is New Year's Eve. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's so true.
We're coming into 2021. What are some goals that you have for yourself coming into the new year?
Oh my goodness. So I have a board, and my goals are on my board. I actually put them on the board a couple of days ago. Number one, I want to grow my business. I've actually stopped focusing on working in some of the organizations that I've been working on volunteer-wise so that I can put the time into my business because I really want to see that grow. So I have my business partner and we have something, a meeting coming up where we can actually look at lead generation and how to increase sales. So that's one of the things. Personally, I would like to pay off my house. I'm very close to it. That is going to take a lot of perseverance, but I would like to pay it off sooner than what it was originally gauged to being paid off. And honestly, one of the things that I want to do this year is really focus on myself. And this goes back to coming to that revelation about taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others? So I think that I want to just focus on just general self-care, relaxing a little bit more, because I work a lot, and I unfortunately I've had some relationships, friendships that have suffered because of it, because I don't have the time to put into them like I really want to. And I think that being older now, my ideas and ideals have kind of changed. Like I would like to have a family, different things like that. So I think in order to prepare for that, in my 20s, I worked my butt off. In my early 30s, I worked my butt off. So now coming into this, I guess, new, realm of life or area of life or moving forward, I just kind of want to change some of the things that I'm thinking about. So really focus on growing my financial base, looking at investments, getting educated there, and then just working on personal life and making sure that I've worked all this time. Now I just kind of want to find a medium to enjoy life. Like I really want to take time to say, okay, I remember, in the summer I went here and I really enjoyed it, or I traveled here, or I spent time with these people, or, I had a chance to relax, and pour back into myself so that I can pour out into others.
I feel that. I'm trying to do that too next year. Be more present. Actually take the time
more
out.
Present. Absolutely.
Yeah, take the time out to smell the roses of life.
Right.
And just be more present. Quit being so, focused on all my career stuff or my school stuff. Because I'm like you. I'll throw myself into all of my school stuff or into my work life. And I won't reach out to anybody. It's like I'm in my own little bubble.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, we're not meant to be on islands. Sometimes we do need help. So being able to be more present, be more in tune with my emotions instead of bearing them, I think that's going to help me out coming into the new year.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. I think that will help you out. And I think it helps you become more self-aware. So that you can go throughout life and really see what it is that you're trying to accomplish. What is your purpose in life? And then I would like to get into like the ministry a little bit more. I don't, of course, because of COVID, I don't think I'll be able to do it now, but I really want to get to a point where I can do like mission trips and different things like that. I think that I would really enjoy giving back in that sense, and doing like God's work in that manner. So yeah, my goals really focus around the whole spiritual, mental, and physical aspect of it, of, becoming a better person, being able to enjoy life, and just seeing really what that next step is. Like, I know I will always have business goals, like to increase my business and to do this. Like, I feel like those are obvious, right?
Yeah.
But internally, when we're on this spiritual and mental journey and making sure we're not losing our minds out here in this crazy world.
This flush-filled world.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I really am eager to see how I can expand in other areas that will benefit me, spiritually, mentally, and physically, and really take a hold of that and see what truly makes you happy. I am the type of person where I can't even watch a movie without my laptop in my hand. I'm always working. I remember when COVID first happened, I was watching a movie and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Sheba, this is the first time I've ever seen you without your laptop. Like, how does it feel?" And I was like, "I don't know. I feel like I'm analyzing the movie a lot more because usually I'm in my laptop working and watching."
Right.
And so, being able to take those moments to just chill and enjoy life as opposed to being wrapped up in everything that is going on. That is probably what I'm going to try to do a lot more of this year. Again, of course, I want to grow the business, pay off the house, like do those type of things.
Yeah.
But I really want to take a look at myself internally and see, what is it that's really going to truly make me happy, and then work towards those things. Because honestly, at the end of the day, while money is great, it's not the end all be all in life. Like, what truly internally makes you happy, and then how can you work to achieve that? Because now, if you can find that and make money, then you're golden. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have a passion for what you do, which luckily I do, then you're good. You're good to go.
Yeah.
But try to eliminate the stresses of life, because at the end of the day, life is short.
Yeah.
Life is short, and so when you look back, can you say that you really truly enjoyed it, or was it just chaos and stress, and you're looking back and you can't even remember what you did? You know what I mean? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And so my final question to you before I go ahead and wrap this up is, if you could offer a piece of advice to the Sheba from 10 years ago, what would you say to that 28-year-old Sheba?
No, don't plan, because
Don't plan.
nothing you plan will turn out the way that you think it's going to turn out. No, everything that I think I planned back then is completely different. I think the number one thing is, who cares what people think about you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who cares what people say about you? Who cares what people think about you? I think that back then, when I was so much younger, you're so wrapped up in, well, what does this person think? Or what does that person think? Or, oh my God, I hurt somebody's feelings and all this other stuff. Where now I'm just like, I could care less. I could really care less. And, you look back, and it's good. I do still have friends from high school and some close friends from college. But you look back and the people that you're around change. You change. Like, I am not nearly the same person I was back then. Not probably even close. I'm still bubbly. I think I've always had like a bubbly personality. But other than that, I mean, it's nothing that you plan will end up the way that you plan it.